A black boy is unjustly kicked off a flight by a flight attendant, but in just 11 minutes, he turns the tables and gets unexpected revenge. It was a hot afternoon at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York. The place was as busy as ever, with rushing passengers, luggage rolling by, and announcements echoing through the loudspeakers. Jamal Turner, a 16-year-old black boy, walked briskly toward the boarding gate. He was nervous, but determined. This trip was his golden opportunity. The National Chess Tournament in Chicago could earn him a full scholarship to one of the best colleges in the country. With his backpack over his shoulder and a chessboard under his arm, Jamal boarded the plane, feeling the weight of expectation. It was his first time traveling alone, and he was eager to get to the tournament and focus on competing. He found his seat in the aisle and settled in, hoping for a smooth flight. But from the moment he stepped on the plane, the flight attendant, a stern-faced white woman, seemed to be eyeing him with suspicion. Jamal noticed her strange and uncomfortable glances but tried to ignore them. He was used to people treating him differently because of his skin color. He knew he had to stay calm and not give anyone a reason to target him. As he arranged his things, an idea occurred to him. The seat next to him was empty, and he could use the extra space to study his chess notes. Without hesitation, he called the flight attendant to ask about switching seats. "Excuse me, may I sit here?" "I just need a little more space to study," he asked politely. The attendant looked him up and down with a cold, emotionless stare. "That seat is not available for you," she said, her voice harsh. Jamal was surprised by the direct and hostile response, but he didn't want to push the issue. He sat back down, feeling a growing discomfort in his stomach. While the plane was still preparing for takeoff, the flight attendant returned, her expression even more severe. "You need to get off the plane," she said without any emotion. Jamal was shocked. "Get off?" he asked, incredulous. He hadn't done anything wrong. "You're causing problems. We can't take off with you on board," she replied, this time louder, drawing the attention of the other passengers. All eyes were now on Jamal, and he felt his face burn with embarrassment. "I didn't do anything. I'm just sitting here, waiting for the flight." "I won't repeat myself. Either you leave voluntarily, or we will be forced to remove you," the flight attendant said coldly. With no options left and everyone staring at him, Jamal was forced to gather his belongings and leave the plane. Humiliation burned in his chest. How could this be happening? He, a quiet kid about to compete in an important tournament, was being kicked off for no reason. Getting kicked off a plane in New York, on the verge of missing the most important tournament of his life, felt like a nightmare. Sitting in the terminal with his heart racing, Jamal was furious. He couldn't let this injustice go unchallenged. With his phone in hand, he began writing about what had just happened. His head was pounding with anger, but his mind, sharp and strategic like in a chess game, quickly formulated a plan. He tweeted about the incident in detail. "Just got kicked off a flight at JFK for no reason. The flight attendant accused me of causing problems just for asking to switch seats. This is racism, plain and simple. Shocker justice for Jamal. Racism in the air." But Jamal knew one post wouldn't be enough. He needed this to spread. He quickly messaged his friends, many of them had large social media followings, asking them to share his story. In the next few minutes, the post started gaining traction. Likes and retweets began pouring in. The number of interactions skyrocketed. Within minutes, his story had gone viral, and the hashtag #JusticeForJamal was trending locally. Passengers still inside the plane started seeing the story pop up on their feeds. Their phones lit up, and the atmosphere in the cabin became tense. Many passengers began wondering what had really happened. Why was the boy kicked off? Some started recording videos and sharing what they were witnessing. The situation on the plane was quickly spiraling out of control. The flight attendant, who had seemed composed at first, was now visibly nervous. People around her began questioning her. Why was he kicked off? It was the question everyone wanted answered, but the crew only repeated that they were following safety protocols. Meanwhile, in the terminal, Jamal's phone was blowing up. The number of views, likes, and shares was growing exponentially. Local reporters started reaching out to him, asking for more details about the incident. In no time, the story had spread across the city and beyond. Twitter was flooded with messages of support, with people demanding immediate explanations from the airline. The online outrage grew, and so did the pressure on the airline. In just 11 minutes, Jamal had turned the situation around. As the chaos continued to unfold, a representative from the airline rushed to the terminal where Jamal was sitting. He tried to speak calmly, but the tension in his voice was clear. "Mr. Turner, we are deeply sorry for what happened. We are investigating the situation and will do everything to resolve this. Please accept our apologies and let us get you on the next flight with all expenses covered." Jamal looked directly at the man. Though his heart was racing, he knew he was in control of the situation now. "This isn't just about the next flight," he said firmly. "I was kicked off for a reason you can't justify. It's racism, and now everyone knows it." The representative remained silent for a moment, knowing Jamal was right. But before he could respond, Jamal's phone vibrated. He looked at the screen and saw that his post had just been retweeted by a celebrity with millions of followers. The story had officially exploded. With the incident going viral and media pressure mounting, the airline was forced to issue a public apology. In an official statement, they acknowledged that the situation had been mishandled and that an internal investigation was underway. They also promised that the flight attendant would be suspended pending review. A few hours later, Jamal was placed on a flight to Chicago. But now he was more than just a chess player. He had become a symbol of the fight against racism. When he arrived at his destination, he was greeted like a hero. His story was in the news everywhere, and he had the support of thousands of people, not just in New York, but across the country. Days later, Jamal competed in the chess tournament where he not only excelled for his talent, but also stood as someone who had spoken out against injustice. What was supposed to be a regular trip to a chess tournament had turned into a social justice movement. "Sometimes you have to fight, not just on the chessboard, but in life," he told a reporter after winning an important match. Jamal had learned something valuable. Even when they try to silence you, you can always find a way to be heard. To hear more stories of resilience and justice like Jamal's, hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey of truth, change, and inspiration. Don't miss out. Stay updated with the latest stories that matter. Together, we can make a difference.